guys, today we are going to talk about that one thing that no one's talking about.
And that's when youth sports aren't good for you or for your child. We've always heard it said youth sports are great for the children, great for the families as well. However, we come across 3 questions that we think you should ask yourself just to make sure it is actually a good fit for you and for your family, especially in the specific seasons you're in.
Because you may be surprised, youth sports could actually be
we've gone through it negative.
right, negative. I wasn't going to say that word, but that is true.
There's no cutting.
So you just want to analyze your current situation, where you are, where your kids are at, the ages there are. There's so many things. So that's why we came up with
3 main questions we should ask yourself. Question number 1: does your child actually enjoy the sport? Do they have fun? It may sound like a simple question. However, we've seen how many times, like when our kids were in soccer.
Right. I mean, they may have a friend at school and that friend may play a certain sport and they think they want to do it. And then practice number 2, it's not working out. Game number 1, they're playing.
You see them on soccer, instead of them playing their position, you see them looking at the airplanes passing by.
Right.
You see them playing tag with other kids.
Right.
And you're trying so hard to make it work. You're bringing them to practices, you're taking them to games. They're just not enjoying it. Yet we found ourselves doing that, right?
Right.
Just trying so hard to make it work because we felt like it was like we needed to do it. If we were bad parents, if we didn't have our boys in sports.
Right. So that was question number 1.
Yeah.
Does your child like the sport?
So simple enough.
So possible you can actually go out in a field, play with them a little bit, see how they feel before you decide to sign them up.
Doesn't necessarily have to be a structured sport where they have to abide by specific practice days, times, games, etc. So question number 2: does it work with your family schedule?
That's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
That was the biggest for us, I think.
Right. Well, yeah, because you may sign up your kids for different sports and you don't think that this will not work. This will not work with dinner times. This will not work with your work times, your weekends. You mentioned
dinner times. How many times did we have dinner driving to a game or from a game and just stopping at McDonald's, getting a Big Mac or whatever, which
sounds
is terrible, awful.
We have not had McDonald's in years, just for the record.
Exactly.
But
that was just terrible. But that's a whole other show.
Right.
That's a whole other
so
topic.
make sure that you have time to drive from work to school, wherever you pick up your child, to drop them off to sports, that this is not going to take away from any, like, your quality of life with your family. I didn't have time at some point to do laundry. There was definitely no time to cook. And for us, Sundays.
Yeah.
Sundays.
So our schedules were packed as is.
Right.
But then we tried to make this work. So that was that one season. Now we're in a different season, totally different scenario. But in that season we're talking about is we've seen so many parents there doing the same thing in the same boat where we were, trying to make it work, almost like it's an obligation that you have to have your child. It's okay.
Well, I didn't know you can not have your kids in sports. It was almost a mandate. It was just given, and especially when you have boys, it was just, this is what you do. So this is life.
Yeah.
And I wish I knew otherwise, but this is not the only way you can play sports. You can go on bike rides, you can play sports.
You can still get all the other health benefits with your child. Yeah.
You can.
So a couple of the things, but the one main thing, especially for us, is we had friends and acquaintances where, for example, baseball.
Right.
Most of the baseball games are played on Sundays. If you're a person of faith, if church is important for you, are you willing to miss church just so you can make a game? Right. You know, what are you telling your child, that it's okay to miss church as long as it's for a baseball game or whatnot? Is that going to throw things off? We've had friends before who'd put their vacations around sporting events. Right. So it's just like, I guess just a balance. But that was definitely a huge thing for us when we took our kids out of sports.
Yes.
When we actually presented them the option of, hey, you don't have to play this next season if you don't want to.
Right.
And then as soon as we gave them that option that one year, they all were agreed
Yeah.
that they're going to take that season off, and it was just such a relief, such an ease at home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so look at the schedule, the practices, the game dates, the season length, and see if this is something that fits in your schedule. Imagine yourself going to work, dropping the kids off, whatever your situation is, but just picture it and then block those hours driving to and from, and counting homework and whatever else needs to be counted, and see if it works. Because there was times that when it definitely didn't work for us.
Right. And number 3, are you living vicariously through your child, whether you're a dad or a mom? We've seen it on both sides.
For sure.
And it hurts when you see a child try to apply themselves so much. You see them, they're under so much pressure. They cry easily. They feel that they can't keep up. Are you giving your child some expectations that are nearly or actually impossible to keep up with? Are you competing with some other moms or dads on the same team or on other teams to see which child can score more goals, or run the fastest, or run the longest, or whatever? It can go on and on. But that's something huge.
One thing with that as well is, there's this trend that's going around, and it's mainly for boys, but where due to their size, parents decide not to, due to their academics, but
physical
due to
size,
their physical size, parents decide to hold their children back.
Yeah.
And it's just simply
thinking
because
it's going to
they
set
want
them up.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And
if your
again,
child needs to be held back so they can mature
for academic
and
purposes, sure.
that's totally fine. But we've seen it where parents have actually held their children back, and it was just specifically for sports. They want their child to be the best in baseball or soccer or basketball, whatever the sport it is, and they held them back, and that's absolutely not okay, and it does definitely hurt the child way more than it benefits.
Right.
For sure.
Absolutely. So those are the 3 things that we'd recommend you ask yourselves. We wish we would have heard something like this years ago when we started putting our children in sports. So again, just to recap quickly, number 1, does your child enjoy the sport? You'll know during the first season. Number 2, are you in a place where you can actually commit to going through X amount of practices, games, and so on? Do you have one child? Do you have multiple children? Just think about that. Number 3, are you living vicariously through your child, or are you having a competition between dads, moms, or whatnot? It just places a lot of unnecessary pressure on the kids. So again, sports are great. We love sports. Even when the seasons where they weren't taking part of sports, a youth sport like a structured team, we'd still play with them, still get all the physical benefits from it. However, it definitely is huge. If you know you can't handle it, don't just add something else on, because then you may have like marital issues, you may have other things going on. You may not be able to catch up with the day-to-day things, as you mentioned, with the laundry.
Right, the kids may be stressed out in school.
Kids may be stressed out. You may be eating terribly. Just 3 simple questions that we think will help you a great deal.
For sure. And just remember, just because everyone is doing it, it doesn't mean it's right for you. Yeah. So if you feel you need permission to stay out of sports for 1 season, there you go. You just got permission. Yeah. We wish we would have heard that years ago, but hopefully this adds value to you. Yes, we hope it blesses you guys.
Yep.
And we'll see you on the next episode of Healthy Family Talks. Ciao.